It's episode 23 of the Improv London podcast with this week's guest, Kitt Proudfoot.
This ain't gonna be easy.
Moving around. Welcome to episode 23. I met Kitt outside the Miller, and the famous Miller in London. We talked about improv, we talked about acting, we talked about Meisner, we talked about being a DJ, we talked about being a model, and we talked about being a basketball player. One of the other things we do also learn in this podcast is the debt, both artistically and financially, that Kitt owes to Louisa Omelan. Anyway, if I find out more, carry on listening. Kitt Proudfoot, yes. Welcome to the Improv London podcast.
I'm so happy, I'm so honoured to be here, I can't even explain.
Well, I'm very happy for you to be here. We should do the who, what, where to start with.
No, but also before we do the who, what, where to start with, we can also just pre-start with saying I can't think of a nicer soul to be doing this podcast than your good self.
Thank you very much. I feel very much the same way.
It's so great. I'm really happy that you're doing it.
I'm glad. I'm happy that I'm doing it as well.
So, is it who first? Was who the first? Oh, the who, what, where?
We can do it. Do it in any order you like.
Okay, well, I'm Kitt.
Hello, Kitt.
Yeah.
I'm Stuart.
I don't know how else to define myself.
Define yourself. That's my first question.
How do you define yourself? God, I don't know. I define myself as an open person. I try and be as honest as possible. Other than that, really, I'm tall.
Yeah, he is. Listener, you may not be able to see this, but he's tall. Yeah, he's a tall man.
I'm not improv tall, but I'm like normal, because you get a lot of big lads in improv.
Do you reckon?
I see a lot of big lads. I mean, I think you get a lot of extremes. You get a lot of people from the fringes of society, whether they're tall or particularly short or whatever it is. But you're gonna get the fringes, really. You know,
more so in improv than other art forms.
But you know what I'm saying though. Sometimes you see like a really normal guy doing improv, right, and you're like, hold on a minute. Who
let you wandered in somewhere else?
And then, there's nothing worse when he's good as well. You're just like, hold on a minute, why are you good at this?
You could be doing something else.
Yeah, you don't need this.
We need this. Yeah. This is all we've got. Don't take it away from us with your normal books.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to say, I'm basically the things that nudge me into not particularly normal. I'm almost huge. I'm 6'5", so I'm almost massive. Thankfully not completely massive. No, people don't come up to me and say you're tall that much. People forget I'm tall, if anything.
Right.
Everyone forgets I'm tall. But I'm going on a bit about it too much, really. But I'm just a bit tall, that's all I'm saying. And then the Geordiness. There's so those are the things. But I'm not the most normal. I saw a normal guy doing improv here once. I just left.
It's the only legitimate reaction if you see that sort of thing. Well, we should say where we are then.
Yes, where we are.
We're outside the Miller, one of the homes of improv in London.
God, it's such an important place, this place. It really is imbued. Sometimes I don't know if the people that work here know how important the Miller is to some people,
right?
And the development of themselves and stuff.
Yes.
But it really is for me such an important place. It's such a. I feel like there's almost like a golden era going on at the moment. You don't know if it's going to be for 2 years, it's going to be for 5 years, it's going to be for 10 years. But the Miller will forever be remembered as a place of many laughs, many joyful moments. I love the Miller so much.
Yes. I very much agree. So that's who, what. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. That's good. We've established the who, what, where.
Yeah, is that the whole thing?
I think so. I mean, some people don't even think we should be establishing that.
Really?
We should just be, establishing the relationship or the emotion of the scene.
Well, to be honest, with the what, we could go a lot deeper into that.
Yeah, let's do that then.
But you can't force it.
No.
You can't force it. You just got to see what comes of it.
Yeah.
Was this what you were told with the first 5 minutes? They said that you've got to get the who, what, and where down.
No, it's just improv. Some improv classes that I've done that have emphasised that particular approach.
Oh, there's nothing wrong than a purist. Is this the main complaint you're getting? The main complaint you're getting is...
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know where you are.
Yes, you're not establishing the reality. You need to establish a strong reality as soon as the podcast starts, or I'm turning it off. And if that's the case, that person's turned off. But we can do with that.
We're going to establish the reality, and then the first strange thing that happens, we're just going to hit that and hit that and hit that and hit that for the rest of the hour.
Yes, I've read the UCB manual, I know.
And it is a valid approach.
Yeah, it's a valid approach, big time.
Necessarily it's my approach, but it is a valid approach.
No, it is. It's a very valid approach. Yeah.
What should we talk about first? You're a man of many colours.
Yeah, I am.
You do many things.
I am. I can tell you what I've just been doing right now.
Tell me what you've just been doing now.
So I'm doing my first ever lead role in a theatre production.
Wow, proper theatre with scripts and everything.
Scripts. Oh. We're wearing clothing. There's furniture. There is accents that I'm failing at for the most part. I've noticed that that's a big thing with accents. It's like I really go in strong. Like the first 3 words will be perfect received pronunciation, and by the third word it's like, yeah, man. It's just like it couldn't get more Geordie. But yes, so I'm doing that at the moment. I've just come from that now. I've just been doing basically we open on Saturday night. It's a play called Hard Cross, and it's written by this phenomenal young playwright who I'm so excited to have met. When she's so young, it's ridiculous. She's like 3 or 4 years old, and she's written this play called Hard Cross.
Her name Jack.
Yes, Dominika Visi. She's wonderful. A proper, like, I can see her being a big timer, and she's a great director as well. Really good, really incredibly creative artist. So I'm doing this play with a wonderful cast of people. It's the first time I've ever done like the lead in a play. I've done parts in plays. I've done like little bits. I did an immersive last year I might have told you about called Never Ending Night, which is at Waterloo Vaults.
Oh right.
Yeah, which is phenomenal.
Talk about that in a second.
Yes. Oh my, because it was basically like improv but with no sense of humour. And I'll explain why. I'll come back to why. But like the opposite, and rightfully so, by the way, because it was the end of the world. But yes, I've been doing that. That's what I'm basically up to for the main part right now. It's taken over. It's such a challenge. Such a challenge.
So what inspired you to do proper acting?
Well, I have to say, I mean, it's always been there. I mean, the big thing with me was when I was younger, I always wanted to do it, but due to an insane overflow of testosterone, sports became be all and end all from like it became a true focus probably from age 13, but I was involved in sports from like 6, so I was like a sports guy, basically basketball mainly, but also rugby. And the whole idea was to go pro with those things. Ended up at like academies and like like semi-pro teams and all of this kind of thing. I was meant to go to the States for basketball and all this kind of thing. And I've got that thing where I'm like, you don't know this at the time because your testosterone-fueled, overconfident teen self, if you have that streak in yourself, which I certainly did, truly believes you're going to be 100%. There's no question that you're going to be a professional sportsman. So all this extra work, these 6 hours of training every day, that the weights at 2:00 in the morning, and then like getting back up at 6 to do handling drills and shooting 600 shots a day, like this, I mean, beyond a joke ridiculousness. If I just applied 1/10 of that to learning the piano, oh my lord, my life would be so different. If I applied even like a sprinkling of that to like just, I don't know, I couldn't Google what improv was, but just like, I don't know, find out what like acting stuff I could, but it just, it wasn't there. And obviously I was in the north as well, so it's like, it's probably a bad thing to say, but I never had a good experience of drama in the north.
Really?
No, like I really, really didn't. And it got to the point where I could have had, but by that point I was 15, 16, and I had an amazing teacher called Mr. Fry who was trying his damnedest to like pull me in to do the choir, pull me in to do drama, and I was just like, no, because I was doing my schoolwork and 6 hours of training every day, then, so it wasn't going to happen, but I was too set in my ways. But essentially, I never got a chance I never got a chance to do any training, any drama, anything, and as a result I never thought I could. And then it wasn't until in my early 20s when I was modelling, which should discount me from improv straight away, but I was doing that in my... Don't worry, I waited for it all to wear off before I came to improv classes. So I...
How did you get into modelling? I don't want to interrupt your flow.
How did I get into modelling? God, how old was I? I was at a college when I was 17, and the hairdressers wanted me to be in a catwalk show with like 3 streaks of like blonde streaks in my hair. Like when I say streaks, it sounds like I'm saying like highlight. I'm not. I'm saying if you think of like a section, like 6 inches long, 2 inches wide of blonde in brown hair, and then a spike, but then a shaved on one side, then spiked on the other side. Like honestly, like real forward thinking. I don't know what they were thinking forward to, but they were thinking forward, like real extreme. So I did that at first, and then there was this TV show, which again, it was on Channel 4. It was called Model Behaviour, and basically, this TV show came up, and I don't know. All the hairdressers and some of my mum's friends were like, "Kitt should do this TV show." So I went to it, and it was mad. It was such an experience, and. It's what cured me of my sports depression.
Really?
Yeah, because basically what happened was, I got to 18, I was at the National Sports Academy, right, playing basketball, right? And I had offers from, this is the weirdest thing, I have to tell you this, right? So, right, in the States, I have to kind of go back a little bit, but in the States, right, if you want to play, let's say you're a basketball player like I was, right? And you want to get into college, right? The college sports over there is huge business. It's as big as normal sports everywhere else, Huge business. Not huge business for the players, my ad. They don't get paid anything, which is like but millions and millions of pounds for the universities, whether it's merchandise, tickets, whatever. So basically, I wanted to be in that system. I wanted to get across there, get paid nothing to play to, tens of thousands of people, to develop myself so I could inevitably become a supreme professional sportsman, right? So, I couldn't do that. They've got enough 6'5" white guys in America, right? All of the coaches' sons are 6'5" white guys. As weird as it sounds, 6'5" is actually a weird height in basketball.
Yeah.
Anything from 6'4" to 6'6", 6'7" is what's called a tweener, right? I've always been a bit of a tweener. Yeah. So I was at this. We'll wait for the helicopter. We'll wait for the helicopter.
It's very loud. It's very loud, London. You said when you start. Actually, I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Cool. So I don't think there's a lot of stereo on this now. Because we're sitting the other way around. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
I think we're all right.
I've changed to the other side of the thing.
Yes.
People are going to be like, hold on a second, I thought the other guy was Geordie. So basically I was what was referred to as a tweener. So I wasn't going to get scouted, as it were, to go and play in American universities. I thought that was the only reason. It's also because I wasn't quite good enough. You never know. If I got saw somehow by every single university in the States, one of them might have went, hold on a second, he looks quite good. Theoretically that could work. But it's before the age of the internet. I couldn't afford that many VHS tapes, right? So all I had to go on was like, if my coaches invited someone over, they'd see me play or whatever.
So you were making VHS tapes, or tapes of... You weren't making them?
Couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford one.
But
right?
that would have been, if money had been no object, that would have been the thing to do. You'd been filmed playing basketball, you'd sent it out to American universities.
I think so. I mean, that's the only option I had, but I couldn't afford the VHS tapes. I couldn't afford food. I just lived on pasta and tuna, so it was literally all I lived on at that time. So basically, basketball didn't. I didn't end up going. But not before I got offered high schools, right? So instead of going to university, I would have to pretend I was less educated than I am. It's so weird, the situation over there. I don't know if this is still how it works, but so at 18, you were already, at 17 actually, you were already finished what at that time was the equivalent of the US high school system is. So if you go into upper sixth form, if you finish first year of sixth form, beg your pardon, you are now overqualified for American university.
Right.
So if you finish first year, then second year, then try and go to high school in America to do the last year, be a year older than everyone else, you're way too qualified.
Oh, no.
So from an educational standpoint, you can't do it. So I'd have to lie about my education. That was number one. But I got 5 offers, and the idea was that I'd go and live with a family, right? And they would have to adopt me legally, right? I would no longer be my mum and dad's child. And I'm not saying they couldn't say to their friends, they couldn't say to the government, they couldn't go, oh, well, we're only doing this so he can join the family, so he can play for that high school, so he might not then get seen by an Ohio university, because it was in Ohio. They couldn't say that. They'd have to go, yeah, he's no longer our son, right? But horrible teen, single-minded me was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, let's do that. Like, what's everyone's problem? What's wrong with you? So
Hello, Prav.
Oh, get in here, pal. Nice to see you, pal. Nice to see you.
You can join us. We are recording Kitt's interview for the podcast.
Oh no, Prav's can get in.
He's already been on it.
Oh, okay.
You're more than welcome to sit with us if you want.
Have you got a guitar? Can you just play a guitar in the background?
You're more welcome to come sit with us. I'm just,
Oh, you guys do it, man.
All right.
I don't want to be.
No, man, you're part of the community. I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm going to slip out slowly.
We will see you performing tonight.
Yeah, you guys.
I'm doing the lights
Oh,
tonight.
nice.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Not tonight. Yeah, just doing this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Have a good podcast. I'm going to go.
We will catch up with you soon.
See you later.
All right,
See you
sorry.
later. That's a nice little interval. So basically, in my head, I was like, yeah, of course, I'm going to do this. Now, I was meant to go to an Ohio high school, join this quite well-off family, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to afford all this business. But I was going to do it. Then one night, I had a nightmare that my mum was crying, and then I'd upset my mum, and then I woke up that morning and I was like, oh my God, what in God's name am I, like, what on earth, what am I doing? Like, how can I be so cold? But this shows you, like, the level of, like, how unbelievably blindly, narrow-mindedly committed I was to this thing. Like, and to the point where it was like, that could have been a horrible thing to do. Now, the weirdest thing was, I was one of 5 who were offered this thing. So there was 4 other guys at my academy who were all offered to go to these high schools, right, get adopted.
Yeah.
The other 4 did it.
Wow.
All 3 out of those 4 had to come back to the UK because they didn't get picked up by university. One of them got picked up for like long jump or something. Isn't that the strangest thing?
Yeah.
So I really hope that I hope I'm wrong about this, and that it turned out beautifully and whatever. I know one of them went across there and he built a really nice life for himself. He became a coach. I think he met his wife and all that. Lovely, wonderful, amazing. So I hope it was a lot nicer than I thought, but I had to just pull out. Anyway, this takes us back to how I got into modelling. Modelling came along. I made this decision, then I was like, oh well, that's it. My entire dream that I've been working on for the last however many years is gone. I won't be a professional sportsman now. There was no other opportunity for me to develop in the UK. I couldn't go to the next thing. There was no next thing. So I was done, So that's a mourning period. At exactly that same moment, this whole modelling thing came along. So I was blinded by the lights of like London and this opportunity and this excitement and working with these creatives and, even though as a model you're in the middle of it, but you're still a bystander, you're doing nothing creative. There's an argument to be said that at some level or in some you have a creative input, but we're talking about a nominal, tiny, barely existent fraction of the industry. You basically work in advertising, but your advertising work is done nearby people who are creative,
right,
or with people that know people that know people that are creative. It's advertising, So that's how I got into that. And when I first did that, that's when I started doing auditions for adverts. And I started, I got offers for to do like a film, like a mini film or whatever, and I just blagged it all. And I always knew there was like an element of me that was like wanted to perform, and it was in there, but it was so it was based on nothing really, other than how I was with people.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So how I was with people, like if I was at a party or if I was at out with some friends or I was at the park or whatever, I'd always perform. I know it sounds hellish. It sounds like the worst thing ever. Like it sounds like, oh God, this sounds like the worst guy ever. You know?
When you say you'd perform, what do you mean?
I wouldn't get up and say, "Can everyone please be seated?"
Ladies and gentlemen, here's a little something I prepared for you.
I don't mean that at all. I wouldn't do like a one-man show, you know.
Do you like magic? I got magic. Do you like puppets? I got puppets.
Yeah, I would just, the performance was, and I didn't know I was performing. I thought it was my personality. I thought it was just who I was. For years I thought this. But what I would do is, I was constantly trying to manage the environment.
Right.
So if making the environment better meant that I needed to make everyone happy by laughing or whatever, then I would do that. Yeah. But if making the environment better was going over to the corner and speaking to that person who's on their own because they look a bit sad, I'd do that. If it looked as though those two people have a fight, I'd diffuse that. So I was constantly using performative energy, you know, and what I then got into was two things. I basically got into presenting, you know, and I started getting like offers and stuff for presenting, which barely went anywhere. Like I got some like offers with like some like auditions and almost got like big jobs on like Channel 4 and stuff like that, and I was like always like a hair's breadth from it, and rightfully so, because the only reason I wanted to do presenting is so I could basically say, look mum, I'm doing it, you know. The other job never did that for me, because I've been a DJ now for like 10, 11 years. I could never say to my mum like, oh, I'm playing at this good club tonight. She's like, what? And I say my mum, you hear what I'm saying? I'm using my mum to mean like everyone back home.
Right, yeah.
So I basically say to everyone back in Newcastle, like, you know, look, I'm doing it. I came here, I did this thing. That's honestly the only reason I wanted a presenting job. It's come around to it now that I like what presenting is, and I'm like, I would like to do that as well. I'd like to do it as a job, but it's not like a passion, you know.
Yeah.
And then from that, I was just like, to be honest, for years I was just crippled by fear, because what I called it at the time is circling the prey. I used to think of it like acting as like, well, I can do presenting, I can DJ,
right.
I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. But that big thing, I'm not allowed to do that.
Right.
And what I used to say when I finally kind of cracked it was, I was waiting for permission to come from an external source. I was genuinely waiting for Morgan Freeman to arrive at my door and like Morgan Freeman arrive at my door and just say, "Good, you have to act now." You know? Come on. You know, that's the worst impression ever. But I was genuinely waiting for that to happen. I was waiting for like someone to come and like, and not just come and tell me like, please do that. I mean like, actually get me, like, come and get me, and take me to the fully formed thing. And that never happened.
Oh no! I was hoping that was going to happen.
It never happened. And I didn't know what improv was. So to get into improv and acting at the same time, that was like major research mode. And then all of a sudden I realised that all of my favourite people in the US mainly, whether it's like Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, you know, like oh god, I could literally like list a million of them. But all of these people, whether it was even going back to like, you know, Bill Murray, you know, oh god, they're all improvisers. I was like, what? That's a thing?
Yeah.
Sorry? I did not know this. And then slowly but surely, and then that's how I kind of came into acting and improv at the same time. So that's how I got into it.
So what was the first improv that you did then?
Well, actually, it's really cool. But actually, the first class I ever did was with, do you know Louisa Emilion?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, she's amazing.
Yes, she is.
Yes. So basically, she was just doing these classes, and
you thought, I want to learn improv, but I want someone that's going to give me the sort of the Beyonce perspective.
Beyonce approach.
Someone who would know what would Beyonce do.
Yeah. I judge every bit of improv teaching on its fierceness alone. So I was just like, what's going to be the fiercest method? So I basically went to the old classic, like basement of a pub, paid like 100 quid or however much it was. Oh god, you know what? I don't even think I've paid for it yet. I've just realised this now.
That would be awkward if Louisa wants to get in contact. I've got Kitt's contact details.
Tweet me.
Tweet him.
Because that would make me look cool.
Would you be prepared to pay for the course
It's
for
almost,
a tweet?
Yeah, it's almost worth it. It is actually way worth it. Get a quick tweet. But yes, she was wonderful.
Yes.
And what was she so amazing? Because it was like first class. What she was amazing at, which I then have seen done by all the great teachers I've worked with since, is getting you from closed off, scared to look silly, to looking sillier than you ever have, disgustingly silly. Getting you from that 0 to 60. The way in which she did it, with like in the most beautifully sensitive but full, like progressive, wonderful way.
Yeah.
So that was basically my first ever class. Now, I didn't end up finishing that course, and that's why I didn't pay for it. But, and I apologised, and she said it was okay, but I'd still love a tweet. But I didn't end up paying for that course. But when I did actually eventually get round to saying I really want to do this course again, I contacted Louisa, Facebook or whatever, and I was like, "Are you still doing the course? I'd really love to do it. I'm so sorry about last time." And she said, "I'm not doing it anymore. But check out Hoopla. Look for Steve Rowe, game changer.
Yeah.
And the course of my life changed forever." Yeah.
So, we mentioned before this immersive theatre in
Yes.
Waterloo. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, okay, so basically what happened with this was, I've also done, because I've kind of, one thing I've done since starting improv is I've jumped from side to side, right? I've basically, I'm not just doing improv, I have been trying to learn acting at the same time. One thing I found really troublesome for me, because of the other things I've got going on, is I haven't been able to do both at the same time consistently.
Right.
So yeah, I can come and I can do a jam session at improv while I'm doing a play, or while I'm doing an acting course, or vice versa. I can go and do a little acting thing if I'm doing an improv course, or if I'm working a lot with a team. I can do a little bit, but I can't do both of them at the same time continuously, right? So I was doing a lot of Meisner training, and this is honestly, I'm so happy that I found Steve, for example, and Maria as well, because obviously I worked with Maria on the beginner's course, but finding Steve with improv was huge. He was my Morgan Freeman at the door.
Wow.
Even though I had to get in the room, he was my Morgan Freeman at the
Once
door.
you were in the room.
And Maria was as well. Hoopla in general, it was such a wonderful atmosphere to begin, especially, But then with acting, I went from coach to teacher to whatever, to fucking guru, right? And I found it all painful, hellish, especially from being a Geordie and loving comedy and doing improv, and then people being so serious and so awful. And I felt a lot of these guys had god complexes. Then I found a wonderful chap called Dominic Kelly. And Dominic Kelly became my Meisner teacher. So Dominic works with Alex, and they run, along with a bunch of other creatives, a thing called the Salon Collective. And they work out of mainly the Cockpit Theatre in Marylebone. And they're a Meisner school and a Meisner company of actors. So they do a lot of Shakespeare, they do many, many different things. But I basically I went through the whole course of Meisner teaching. I don't know if you know about Meisner.
Yeah, tell me
but
about
Meisner basically worked with Stanislavski and Stella. I'm going to absolute butcher this, but I'm going to try my absolute best, because I've been told this at the start of every Meisner course. I should know it beautifully by now. So basically, Meisner was he was a musician, he was a pianist, and basically he came from that background. But then he studied acting with Stanislavski, and basically Meisner then formulated from Stanislavski, the Russian teacher, he formulated his own style of teaching in New York, okay? And basically what it was, it's based on a number of things, and essentially what it tries to do is it, through the medium of a thing called rep, as in repetition, it almost sharpens your ability to get to an emotion. And the best way you can even think of it is it's almost like molecular fake it till you make it.
Right.
So if I need to get angry with you, I go and I get angry at you.
Yeah.
By doing that, maybe I'm going to get angry with you.
Yeah.
If I want to get sad, maybe I have to get so angry with you that I'm over the other side, right?
Wow.
Then I break down.
Yes.
If I want to get so happy with you, then I just get so happy with you.
Yeah.
But maybe then, from just going to it, now that on its own, you're just putting all this energy to you. I need something back, right?
Yes.
So what you do is a thing called rep. So it'll start by going, you must have heard this before, you would have heard this. You're wearing a lilac shirt.
Yes.
And you'd repeat back to me, I'm wearing a lilac shirt.
I'm wearing a lilac shirt.
You're wearing a lilac shirt.
I'm wearing a lilac shirt.
You're wearing a lilac shirt.
I'm wearing a lilac shirt.
Now immediately you're starting to feel emotions here, whether it's
Yes.
uncomfortable or you're angry the fact that I picked on your shirt and I didn't pick your hair or I didn't pick your... Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You actually start to feel something. It's so quick.
Yes.
Now, it could start with like, and sometimes it does start with like, I don't like your shoes. I'm saying that because I can't see them, so you know it's not true.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure I love them. But in these, it's a very safe space and all these things. But you do this rep, and what it does is, it's a very safe space to sharpen this, your instincts. So if I need to get angry, it almost becomes Pavlovian. It's almost like, I don't need to go talk about your shirt for 10 minutes and then talk about the fact that you're making me feel uncomfortable for 10 minutes, and then talk, I'm just like, boom, I'm there, right? So Meisner basically formulated this thing, and you could think of it as his background as a pianist. Helped him formulate this way of it's almost like emotionally doing scales.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? That's how I quite often think about it. You've got to work on your scales, so you've got to work on your rep, as if you're an actor. So it gives you this set of tools. So I did this training with Dominic, and by the way, I can't remember what you asked me to get to this point. Yes, I've remembered it now. Okay, I've got it right. So by working with Dominic and doing Meisner, I found myself a part in the same way that, I know Proudfoot when he walks over, and I know other people, doing improv, part of like a Meisner community of actors.
Wow.
Now, when this happened, basically, there was this amazing play being put on by these wonderful people. Like, I think it was formulated by two people, Bonnie Adair and Libby Brockman. I think Libby Brockman came up with the idea. Libby Brockman's just going to be a superstar. She's went back to Australia for a while, but she's going to be big time, like at some point. She's so wonderfully driven and professional an actress. So anyway, so Libby had this idea, and they basically formulated it and all that kind of stuff. I didn't hear about it, I didn't hear anything about it, blah, 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 blah. But this is where it's quite nice, because this is where the improv comes in. So what the show they were putting together it was called Never Ending Night. So Meisner has thought of it as an improv-based acting technique.
All right, didn't know that.
Now, not improv how we know it specifically, but it's improvising. So if you don't know the lines yet, you get to know your character by just saying whatever you want, repeating whatever you want. And then slowly but surely you find your way to the character, and you'll learn the lines at the same time. And then you might throw the line at you. So my line to you might be, I hate you. If you don't believe me when we're in rehearsal, you say, you hate me. You don't believe me, so you repeat it back to me.
You hate
And then, I hate you. And when you feel that I'm actually telling the truth, you say your line. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of this was going on in the rehearsal process for Never Ending Night. But they needed someone to work in the rehearsals with the other actors that wasn't in the play.
Right.
So they asked me to come into rehearsals. They needed someone who was Meisner trained, who understood the process, but who wasn't in the play. As Libby put it to me, we've got enough tall white guys. And I was like, the whole world does, I think. I was like, you should hear that more, I think. You know what I mean? I was like, I can't get upset at that. This is the first time I've, where it hasn't worked in my favour, I think. So there we go. But she invited me in, and then the most wonderful thing happened. One rehearsal pass went really well. I was useful. They asked me to come back do another rehearsal, another one. Fourth rehearsal, the end of the rehearsal, they were like, "We've created a part for you. We want you to be in the play."
Wow.
Yeah, and it was such a nice way for it to come about. It was such a nice
that's
thing.
practically Morgan Freeman coming and telling you to act, isn't it?
Yeah. So, do you know what? In a way, you're right. It's like it's the real life reality version of that, because I had to show up. I had to try hard. I had to train in Meisner. I had to do all these different things, and it was such a wonderful little part, because it was what you made of it. It was Never Ending Night, the play. In the one in Waterloo Vaults. It was a improvised play to a huge extent, because it was immersive.
All right.
So when the audience come in, they're walking through. You don't know if the audience is going to come up to you and say, "Where should I put my coat?" And this is a dystopian world. I'm like, why have you still got your coat? We need to, disinfect that or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's basically the kind of thing. And I was like, we had like plants in the crowd, and it was my job. No, God, the funniest thing happened, right? So basically, I had like a hat on and full army gear. And a hood up, because we were meant to be like in disinfected, like E.T. when they were through the tube. So basically, it's meant to be like a virus outside that had killed 90% of the world's population. Real lovely stuff, right? So basically, I ended up being the muscle. Right? Now, no one ever thinks of me as the muscle ever, but the reason was, and this is the funniest thing, it's because you couldn't see my hair, and I realised that if you can't see my hair, and I'm dressed like that, I look like quite nails. And they were like, Kitt's got to deal with that. I'm like, what, me? Have you seen my hair? I was like, oh no, you obviously haven't. I've got a hat on.
So start calling you Tank.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like the brute. So I was having to pick these plants up that were in the crowd because they were infected and carry them out. Oh God, it was really heavy.
Yeah.
At the end of it every night, I had to like lie down and just like get it out of my system. It was a very heavy experience, but phenomenal. And Improv played such a phenomenally huge part. I sent Steve a big email saying thank you, because I thought it was so massively down to him that I was able to do it, and or that I was able to even get in it. And it was nice. It was my first play. So yeah, that was never ending night.
That sounds amazing.
It was wonderful. Yeah, crazy experience.
So how did you get into DJ?
Well, DJing,
because I should warn you, I'm going to be playing some tunes tonight.
Oh, you got some bangers.
So you might just want to like check me out for a few little tips.
Oh my gosh, no, I love. Are you playing off Steve's iPod?
And I'm playing off mine.
Oh, bloody hell, pal!
I'm playing this myself.
I didn't realise you were a pro.
There you are. I ain't no intermediate.
But yes, oh God, I love Steve's iPod. It's got some absolute huge "Let Me Be Your Fantasy" and all that kind of tune on it. Set you free.
Well, I'm mainly going 80s synth pop and 70s funk.
Oh God, we need it.
Because I'm bringing the party, essentially. That's my job. I see that's my job.
You have to. Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, I'll stick around just to you got to see,
learn a few things.
You've got to see what's happening on the scene.
That is essentially why I got into doing the lights.
So why you got into improv?
It was a long-term thing with improv, but I really just wanted to play my music to large groups of people, but without the pressure.
Large.
All right,
25
to some people.
Yeah.
Also, without a dance floor, so there's no pressure if nobody dances. It's like
into the backs as well. Yeah. But you've got to have a dream, man. You've got to have a dream. But yeah, so basically, I think it was in part it was a bit of a foregone conclusion. It was in a way it was a thing that got a bit carried away. So basically, my dad was a major record collector, and it was pride and joy. He'd alphabetize the whole collection of his vinyl, and he'd have God, I mean, he must have had at least 40,000 records at one point. It was beyond a joke. And he'd alphabetise them by artist name. Then he'd realise that he'd prefer it to be alphabetised by the album name. So he'd start again. And then it'd be by colour or something. Or at least that's what seemed to be going on. So I always used to think to myself, music collections in homes are normal, very normal. So, and this was up until the time I was about, 23, 24, going to people's houses. I'd go to, back in Newcastle, I'd go to friends' houses and I'd be like, this is great, but where does your dad keep his records? And they'd be like, what do you mean? And sometimes they might take me to a trunk and they'd be like, well, these are his cassettes. I'm like, oh, fantastic, but where are his records? And they'd be like, well, there is none. And then I'd go home and I'd be like, Mum, my friend wouldn't show me his dad's records. Why is that? And I, honest to God, thought everyone had that. I thought it was a totally normal thing to have a library of jazz in every house. I thought it was totally government issue, right? So it was very normal for me. And I'd start buying things when I was 9. I remember when I was 9, actually, I just flat out left the house when I was 9. I think I was 9, maybe 10. I just flat out left the house. I'd collected my dinner money for the week. I didn't eat each day. And I just collected all. I'd hide it behind the bread bin so I wouldn't take it to school. And then on Saturday morning, I just left the house and went and bought the Bjork album. I mean, I was like 9. What am I doing listening to Bjork? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was quite an experimental record debut. I mean, it might have had It's All So Quiet on it, but the rest of it was pretty experimental music. You know what I mean?
9-year-old, certainly, yes.
So, and then I just come back. I thought that was totally normal for me to do that by myself, you know?
Yeah.
So I was always a collector. And then it got to the point when I was 17, 18, and I never liked the idea of the centre of attention thing. I was already the centre of attention just from like being the loudest one. So I never did it for that, because it's a bit of a, it's not really true, the centre of attention. You're like, the reason I did it really was a number of things. One is, I really like having a reason to be there.
Yes.
I really like that.
Yes.
I like having a reason to be in the room. I like having a reason to say,
Yes.
I've got to just go and do this now.
Yes.
I like having a reason to, a time that I have to arrive, a time that I have to leave, because everything else freaks me out so much, you know, because it takes up so much of my energy, because I have to be that performer person.
Yes.
So having a reason to be there, that was all very good. Secondly, I'd collected all this music, and I was like, it would be an incredible justification, you know, to be, if I was playing this, that would, and I got paid, that would mean all this money that all this music that I've collected and paid all this money for, and all this music I know I will collect and pay all that money for, it's monetized.
Yes.
I feel okay now. I'm allowed to do it. So that was another massive part of it as well. That was a huge part of it. But the way I got into it, I couldn't get gigs, because you can't get good at DJing by any other way than DJing.
Yes. So stand-up.
Yes. Yeah. But the good thing about stand-up is there's open mics.
Ah, yes.
Which, don't get me wrong, are the most awful things in the world. But there's no open decks.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to turn yourself into a con man.
Right.
You have to be a great DJ, even if you've never DJed. You have to lie. But no one was believing me. Rightfully so. They could see through the facade. So what I did is I got myself a job at a club as a marketing manager.
All right.
Then worked into my job description that I would be the guy that booked the DJs. Right. Then I would book the DJs for 5 hours, but then I'd tell them, look, I'm booking you for 5 hours, I'm paying you for 5 hours, but you only have to do 3.5, because I'll do the first hour and a half for you.
Nice.
They were appreciative of that, because that's a good little situation.
Yeah.
So in turn, they would help me and teach me how to DJ.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
So and I was terrible, you know. So what would happen was I would do 3 months, and then all of a sudden I'd have this epiphany of how terrible I was, like how truly awful I was.
But that's part of the learning thing, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So 3 months would pass, I'd go, oh my god, I'm terrible. So I'd go back to bedroom playing. So I'd go back to bedroom, and I'd watch and I'd listen and I'd learn. Do 3 months, then I'd come back, and I was a touch better.
Yeah.
But then 3 months would pass, and I'm like, I can't believe how bad I am. I don't deserve. This is actually. It's not that it's dishonest of me in my job to be booking myself. It's also unfair to these human souls. These human souls that have to listen to me do this, you know. These poor things that are like turning up and spending their money and like spending their night and spending their time on earth listening to me get all the levels wrong.
Right.
So I'd quit again, right? Then I'd do it again. And then I'd worked really, really hard to get the basic technical elements in hand. And then I discovered like minimal techno, which there was like a surge of minimal techno in about 2004 to 2003 to about 2008. And that music is the easiest thing to play it literally just goes bling, bong, bling, bang, bling. And I basically, it's the easiest thing to play, it's the easiest thing to mix together, and no one really knows if you're doing it right. No one has a clue. It was the weirdest time. Because basically, if you did it badly, people thought it was their fault. Right? And if you did it well, amazing. But like, I was generally doing it badly, and people were like, oh, I just don't get it. I really need to work on my music knowledge. I'm like, you don't know. I'm just not doing it very well. So that's basically how I got into it. And then I would say the first 3 years passed, and I was working like 2 nights a week, then 3 nights a week, then 4 nights a week, then 5 nights a week. Then I locked myself away in a way in the third room of a club in Kensington, where no one was really paying attention to me, and just played 3 or 4 nights a week for 18 months.
Yeah.
And by the end of that, I was like off to Ibiza. And
Right.
I had a residency in Ibiza, and that's when it turned a corner. And I was like, do you know what? Actually, I'm not ruining everyone's night all the time. And I was actually, I got good.
Yeah.
I got good. You know.
So, define good.
Well,
Or define bad, because you said, you're getting the levels all wrong. So
Yeah.
presumably that's because, obviously I understand this because I have a background in grime DJing, which if you listen to the Prabs episode you'll know all about. But this is for the benefit of some of the listeners who might not have the vast DJing experience that I've got. Kids are very rightly laughing at this. So you mentioned the levels.
Yes.
So presumably that's because you're DJing on vinyl.
At the time, I was purely CD. Now I'm like, if there's good vinyl decks, because so often they're in like state of complete disrepair.
Oh, right.
But if there's good vinyl decks, I'm 50-50.
Right.
But at the time, it was CDs.
So is it literally a case of some CDs are recorded louder than others, and then you need to turn the volume down for that bit and louder for other ones?
To be honest, almost exactly. Almost exactly. But it's that's the primary concern. So basically, that you have to get your gains right. So there's levels, which when people see the fader going up and down, which you see on like production, consoles as well as
We're
everything
doing
else.
some of that tonight.
Oh,
for the lights.
yes. But you also have gain, which is how much power, as in electricity, is being put through something.
Right.
So from the gain, if you get that right, you get the right colour. You get the right, all of that. It's almost like the colour and the sound. The gain, if you're pushing your gains too hard, it's when people are like, oh, this actually hurts people's ears. It's psychoacoustically a problem for people.
Right.
And some people might not know why. They won't. They'll just be like, I hate this atmosphere, I hate this music, I hate this song. But really, what it is it's being pushed through. So if you put a song that's already made for modern day laptop speakers, like a Rihanna song, let's say. If you put, I'm just going an example that absolutely everyone would know, because this is actually a good example. If you put a Calvin Harris produced Rihanna song, then push the gains, it's going to feel like an assault on your senses. Right. Because it's already a modern day wall of sound.
Yes.
So if it's getting pushed, it's just going to be awful. But people will just be like, oh God, this is an awful atmosphere.
Yes.
It really is the gains. So that's just one element. But I have to say, like, DJing truly, truly, truly is almost more than 99% music choice.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
Once you get those primary, basic skills in place, everything else is what you're putting through the system. You can have no mixing skills. You can have no. You could literally press start on the next thing with a minute silent, with a moment's silence in between. But if you pick the right record for the moment, you're away.
So what's your Wham and ABBA? What's your go-to? Is it Wham and ABBA?
Do you know what? It's funny, I went through a phase when I first started where I didn't pull for any pop music whatsoever. I think a part of DJing in the way I was a rebellion against the mainstream, right? And a big part of the minimal techno thing was a rebellion against the mainstream. I didn't get into DJing, and some people do, to play music I'd already heard but just louder.
Right. Okay.
It was like discovery.
Very much what I'm doing tonight. I'm not educating anyone tonight.
No, don't worry about that.
The warm-up to an improv show is not the time to be educating people about music.
But I got into it to find stuff. Essentially, what it comes down to is I wanted to find stuff that people didn't know they loved yet.
Right.
I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to do. The thing is, it takes you a little while to get good enough to be able to do that and not ruin everyone's night.
Right. Yes.
So you see a lot of people who have got the best intentions at heart. They found all these records that are wonderful, but they're playing them at the wrong times, at the wrong level, the wrong venue, to the wrong crowd, in the wrong order, everything. And I was certainly doing that. So, but I meant well.
Well, that's all right then.
And then, but thankfully, I was able to work to get to the point where 3 years later I could do it. I'm not saying I was great, but I was good. I was like, if you booked me for your club, people would go away going, that was a good night. Not a great night.
Right, okay.
And that's important. It's important to say a good night. So people weren't going like, oh my God, my life has changed, but people weren't going away going like, what the hell? Why? What? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was given the opportunities to get to that stage.
Yeah.
Because I might never have got there if I didn't get the gigs.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you obviously spent. You said you had your 18 months in that particular place, but you've just done it and you've done it and you've done it and you've done it.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got better at it.
It's been my job. It's been my absolute job, you know. And it's got to the point of now it's being like truly obsessive, And I've went through walls of obsessiveness, which has been a really interesting learning experience. Because going back to what I was saying about basketball, for example, I was completely obsessive. And quite often obsession to people outside of your kind of circle, people who might not know you particularly well, people might actually worry about you.
Yes.
And they might mask the fact that you seem driven and on fire and alive. They might want to mask the fact that you're reminding them that they're not quite. So they're trying to pull you back, saying you shouldn't overthink this. You shouldn't try that hard with that. You should just forget about that. And I refuse to.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it might be the most terrible gig. I would give it my absolute everything. I'm not saying I would give up everything that I loved and I would do, play like rubbish or that. I would try so hard to make it so special, and I would come up short again and again and again and again. But then 100 times down the line, I'd be like, oh my God, I did it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a little bit like that with DJ, because I was working in quite cheesy places. I was not a cool dude. I didn't come through like the cool dude underground places.
Oh, yeah.
And
I didn't see that.
yeah, no.
Otherwise I'd have met you there, wouldn't I? Because that's where I was.
Because you had a monopoly.
Well,
You had a monopoly on the scene. Yeah. So I just, I'd rarely get those opportunities. I mean, occasionally I would, but I rarely get those opportunities. And thankfully now I play in the most wonderfully weird and wonderful places because I've been thrown to the wolves so many times.
Yeah.
So quite often in the cool places, especially with house music, it's actually people have arrived to dance.
Right. Yes.
Only.
Yes.
They haven't arrived to flirt or be seen or they've arrived to dance. So you play the first song and it's just got a kick drum.
Yeah.
They're going to start dancing.
Yeah.
They're going to start because they know what to dance. It's like they know what the deal is,
yes.
right?
Yes.
I've went to places where dancing is like fourth at best. So to get people to dance in some of these clubs, you've got to break down so many barriers.
Yeah.
At the clubs with the house music, a lot of the time I could literally get a microphone and play the spoons and stamp my foot. Not for the whole night, but for the first 2.5 minutes, and people would not know the difference. Like I could 100% do that, but because I was thrown to the wolves so many times, you could send me to like a bat mitzvah in like I don't know in Israel, let's say, right? Throw me into that situation. I've never played at a bat mitzvah in Israel. I don't know if I'd be allowed in, maybe not. But let's say I'm playing there, right? I'd be able to make it work.
Right, excellent.
I'd be able to make it work. I might not.
Weddings?
Yeah, have an Agila would be like, I'm sure I can play that. That might be just for Jewish weddings. But now all of these things have just made me better at it, and it's a learning experience, and you can apply that to like everything.
Yes.
There's it can be horrible at the time.
Yes.
But it's going to make you better.
Well, I feel that's quite often that way about improv jams. It's like, it feels horrible at the time, but if I carry on doing it, eventually it'll feel less horrible, and I may even get good at them.
Yes, 100%. And I have to say, you're good at them.
Thank you very much.
Don't worry about being good at them. Like we've reached that point a good while ago. I think but I think the improv jams is a very good example because sometimes you'll get on for a minute.
Yes.
If that, sometimes you won't get on.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, something's went in.
Yes.
And it might be someone that you've never met before did a thing on stage and it clicked something for you.
Yes.
And really that's how it is. It's like it does. You've just got to keep turning up and you've got to keep doing it.
I think you do get points for turning up.
You actually do in improv. You do actually get points for turning up. Yeah. No, you do, and it's more so for nothing's ever going to happen unless you do.
Yes.
So you have to turn up, and then Providence can get involved.
Yes.
Because Morgan Freeman won't turn up. No.
But maybe if you go out there, you will meet a metaphorical Morgan Freeman.
Yes, exactly.
And he will usher you into
We're all looking for a metaphorical Morgan Freeman.
to usher you, to invite you to your destiny.
Exactly. But only if you turn up.
Yes, exactly.
Unless you live with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, well, that's a very small percentage of. That's probably not even a percentage. It's so small the amount of people that live with Morgan Freeman.
Do you know what? I've got no idea how many people live with Morgan Freeman.
No, I don't either. But I just.
He might live alone at this stage.
Yeah, it's possible.
Well, I mean, he travels a lot because he does those penguin documentaries. That's. I mean, I might just do them in a vocal booth.
Yeah, I love the idea he actually goes to the Arctic.
Yeah,
he's just method and his approach. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it was too cold last time. I can't do March of the Penguins too. Do you know how hard it is to not shiver and talk? And talk for an hour and a half straight in freezing conditions. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Okay. So, big finale question.
Hit me.
Right. What's next?
What's next?
Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
Well, actually, hopefully, it's just occurred to me now that this might help, but I'm actually moving to Berlin.
Really?
Yeah, I'm moving to Berlin in July.
God.
Yeah, I've very much fallen in love, and me and my girlfriend are moving to Berlin.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really extremely exciting. Obviously, I've googled Berlin Improv and it exists.
Yes.
So hopefully, I can go there and be like the second person. So So I've got to learn a lot about that. So I'm moving to Berlin. I'd really love to become a part of the improv scene there, the acting scene there. Obviously, the music scene out there is huge.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. And in the meantime, once this. Well, the absolute next is this play is open on Saturday.
Yeah.
So Hard Cross opens at the London Theatre on Saturday. I don't know if this will be out by then.
Won't, but I will tweet about it very much. And
well,
people
thanks for coming. Thanks for coming, everyone.
It's very good.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
You were good. I'm not sure about the accent. If I was going to give you some.
Yeah, it started well. The accent started well.
But that's all you need, just to establish the start of the accent, and then you've got it.
Were you meant to be Welsh? That's the highest. That's the highest praise I can hope for. So Hard Cross, the new play Hard Cross is on at the London Theatre this Saturday and Sunday, which will be in the past by the time people hear this. But it's also we're doing it again because it's brand new. So we're doing it again. I think it might be on at the Bread and Roses Theatre. We've been offered, but if not, it will be on again. Which is fantastic to do the same show again because we've already rehearsed it.
Yes.
So don't need to learn a new one. So that'll be on that. And so to be honest, for me, the big thing is how can I just do more shows, get on stage more, perform more, make more things. I really like to be making sketches.
All right.
If anyone hears this from the London improv scene, if you have an idea for a sketch, if you have half an idea for a sketch, if you would like to be in sketches, if you want to, whatever it is, I'm trying to start creating a bit of a conveyor belt for sketches.
Right.
Whether I've written them myself or I've written them with a chap I'm writing with called Matt, who's tremendous. We've got a little team together, we've got some cameras, we've got all this kind of stuff, and we're looking to start getting going. Even when I move to Berlin, I want to come back here and film sketches, short films, everything. So actually that would be quite nice. If people can tweet me with their sketches that they've done or whatever, I'd love to start, because I'm not on the sketch scene or whatever.
Well, maybe we can help you with
I don't know
that.
anyone. I literally don't know anyone. So that's next, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Kitt Proudfoot, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. What a treat. Thank you so much, Stu. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for asking me.
That's really good. I really enjoyed that.
I made this.
That's improv.